6:28 on a Friday morning, and you are watching the Now Morning Show, where we're getting into a conversation that involves honest writing. My next guest is a young author who has put his emotions to pen and paper and is giving us 57 days of emotions. Good morning and welcome to Dion Carrington.
Good morning. Lovely to be here.
Well, I am very glad that you're here because it's not often that we have young persons, and particularly males, articulating emotions. So tell me right off the bat, what inspired 57 Days of Emotion?
57 Days of Emotions was inspired by my understanding that young boys and men aren't given the space to explore their emotions. And obviously, myself being a young male, I also haven't had much of that room. I've had more than the average Joe because my parents gave me, some space to do that. But out in the world, there was no space to cry freely, do things like that. And I wanted to connect with my emotional self. So I took the time that I had off over the past 2 years to dive into my emotions. This project was just me connecting with my emotional self. And after 2 weeks of writing, I said, this is excellent. It needs to go out into the world.
You say that you got this space thanks to your parents and that you had the time. How old were you when you discovered or had that conscious thought of, there is not that space publicly, let me put pen to paper?
It definitely took a while for me to have the conscious thought. I think unconsciously, I knew must have been since 15, 16, this is something that I can't do this outside anymore. Ever since I was a young boy, people have been telling me, stop crying so much, you're a little girl or different things like that. And I just had to, conform. I had to destroy parts of myself that were innate. And I decided to fight against it, but the conscious thought to fight against it only came in recent years.
Okay. Now you're able to articulate things like you had to destroy parts of yourself. So that alludes to the fact that you may have been writing for some time now.
Yes.
In that case, was that the default in terms of navigating your emotions as opposed to perhaps music or dance or any other form?
So writing, I guess, came naturally to me. I started writing poetry 7 years ago. I was inspired, I have to say, by the Two Cents movement. I must have gone to a spoken word show. I can't remember the first time I would have seen one of those performances. And I was amazed at the fact that these people could express themselves in this way.
Right.
And I tried my hand at it. So every time I was going through tough times, I said to myself, okay, let's try writing about it. And I'd share those writings with friends. And those were poor works of art. But you start somewhere.
Right.
And I've grown as a writer. And now I've reached to the point where I feel comfortable publishing my work.
Was it actually a 57-day piece type situation? Locked down 57 days and just wrote, or 57 pieces?
No.
What is to the title, the story to the title?
So the story to the title is, I wanted to become a more disciplined writer. So I took the opportunity to write one piece every day. That was the plan. I wanted to write one thing every day.
Okay.
But I needed prompts. I couldn't just wake up one morning and say, well, what are we writing about today, Dion? That wouldn't make any sense. So I decided to find a list of emotions. It just so happened to be a list of emotions, and there just so happened to be 57 emotions on the list.
Okay.
So I said, okay, we'll work with this. And I called the project, still before it was going to become a book, I called the project 57 Days of Emotions. And I stuck with that title to honor the root of how this came about.
Got it. Now, we talk about the project, as you said, your first piece of published works of this sort, because we are looking at poems and sonnets, a combination of things.
Yes.
You're saying that we also have specifically 57 emotions. So perhaps the most difficult one to express, which was it?
The most difficult piece to write here was grief. And it's because I tell the story of the loss of my emotional self in that poem. It took me 5 attempts. One of those attempts was just me having to vomit on paper and say everything that I wanted to say.
No actual barf. Gotcha.
Yeah, and just get it out to get a better understanding of the things that I was trying to say. And finally, I can safely say that's one of the strongest pieces in the book.
It usually works that way, doesn't it? The hardest thing
Yes,
to do
yes,
turns
yes.
out to be the labor of love.
Yeah.
Sounds beautiful. But as we celebrate International Youth Day today, the theme this year, intergenerational solidarity, creating a world for all ages. It of course talks about bridging a gap immediately. How have you been able to do just that with your writing and your words, you feel?
I believe that through my writing, I can communicate with young persons and old persons. I have a piece in there that I wanted to read to my students because they were having a particular challenge. They've come to the point where certain things are funny, where we know in reality these are things we should not be laughing at.
Right.
And
Coping mechanisms.
coping
I do that all the
mechanisms,
time.
correct. Right, and also, you know, there are pieces in there for elder persons who they'd read it and they'd be able to connect with it the way that a young person may not, you know. So I try to reach a wide range of persons in my writing as well, so yeah.
And in these writings, we hope to achieve that. But to get the writings now, how do we find you?
Right now, books are only available through me and the UnQ app. Right, so you can either go to my Instagram or Twitter page at I am D Carrington, or you can go to UnQ and search Dion Carrington. You'd be able to find the book there for sale.
Okay. And in terms of an official launch, do we have an event to look forward to?
Yes, on Sunday the 14th of August, so
Right.
Sunday coming, there will be a book launch at Trinidad Theatre Workshop, aka Roots Yard. That's where Roots Yard is set up right now. And it's starting at 1 p.m.
Now, I'm seeing here that there will be performances and hosts. Are there going to be book readings and other spoken word acts? What can we look forward to?
There will be book readings, but the main event on the night is, well, the afternoon, is a conversation with Lou Lyons and Full Disclosure Radio, which I'm very excited about.
Right. So you guys can get your copy. You can find him on Instagram and, of course, Twitter, because that's where we articulate people go. His name, I had to laugh at myself, but Dion Carrington is giving us 57 Days of Emotions. And as much as we talked about the book and where you can get it, he's also given us some visuals that can help to convey his message. Take a look as we take a break and come back with more here on the Now Morning Show. Thank you very much, Dion.
We used to run through endless fields aimlessly when we were bored, and there was nothing better to do. Rolled eyes and attention-seeking sighs would transform into smiles as quickly as we sprinted, leaped, spread our arms, and pretended to fly. Gosh, I long for the days when you were mine. Around 16, your comforting hold became a teasing touch at arm's length. It gave me more space to breathe, but no one to share the abundance of air with. I finally felt the full weight of an empty room. In search of you, I visit your favorite places, but upon arrival, you're nowhere to be seen. Hopelessly, I resort to the reenactment of a spirited ritual, reciting recipes to whichever wizard was willing to mix me a potion at any encounter. Soothing sips become gargantuan gulps, inciting trips, and I swear I could hear your steps from afar. My heart fights its way through my chest as your silhouette takes form, and like an oyster, as the moon fades away, my pearly whites begin to show.